Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at a 48 volt rack mount 100 amp hour battery from SunGoldPower. This is their SG48100P. It's a lithium iron phosphate, as you would expect, and 100 amps continuous output rating and 100 amps continuous charge rating as far as their maximum numbers. And we're going to test that just a little bit. I currently have it paired to an 8,000 or 8 kilowatt SunGoldPower 48 volt inverter, which is this guy up here. Now normally, because this is an 8,000 watt inverter, you would have at least two of these 100 amp hour batteries, because if you take 100 amps times 48 volts, gets you just south of 5,000 watts. And so this thing is capable of pulling quite a bit more power than this battery by itself can deliver. But I only have one of them hooked up because I do want to see if we can max this out. But we're going to find out what kind of output we can actually get out of it. Now, according to the manual, it, as you would expect, as pretty much all of them do, they have high temp cutoff protection, but according to the manual, it also has low temp cutoff protection. But we're going to see if we can crack this thing open after we do a capacity test and a load test and see if we can actually get it to trip or not, and just verify that that low temp and high temp protection actually works as built. All right, so let me zoom in here and kind of give you a little bit of a close-up of what this battery is all about. All right, as you can see, we got a 125 amp output breaker here that we can use to disconnect output directly from the battery itself. The positive terminals are on the left, as is pretty typical. Negative terminals are on the right. You do have an address button on this, which is nice. So if you have multiple batteries, you can set their respective addresses using these dip switches. I currently have it just set to address 1, and that allows you to use this 485 RS45 out cable if your inverter supports that, so that the inverter knows all of the pack information that it needs to from this particular one by address, and it can keep and monitor that and react accordingly. It does have a couple of little retractable handles here. It's kind of a standard 19-inch rack size. I'll put the dimensions up here for you so that you can see what those are specifically. It's got a couple other RS485 Cascade ports over here. It does have dry contacts right on the front if that's something that you're interested in utilizing. And that's really about it. Weighs in at about 100 pounds. It's pretty beastly, as most of these 48 volt 100 amp hour batteries are. And by the way, on the menu system over here, if I hit the enter key and then menu again, and you can up and down the arrow through these various individual battery states, the various parameter settings, that's that para settings there, and then BMS status as well. But under the analog info, if I just hit enter here, you can see we are fully charged, and it's kind of indicated by all these lights being solid on the state of charge lights, and the fact that we are not inputting or outputting any current. So that tells us we are working from a full state of charge, at least as the BMS is concerned in this particular battery. But we're going to test that 100 amp hour output and see if we can actually get that. So I'm going to do that maximum load using an EV charge, which is not a common use case, but I can control the current draw on my EV, so I can put that at a load that will get me very close to that 100 amp maximum. And I know that it should hold that maximum because I've actually had this at maximum already. And but we're going to see that firsthand, let you guys see it in action, and we're just going to see how it performs and how many watt hours we actually get out of it. So let's go ahead and set that test up and get started. All right, to do the capacity test, I'm going to use my EV charger here using the 120 volt output, and I'm going to use my little watt meter here to accumulate those watts. Now I know that this AC inverter pulls somewhere around like a no load or parasitic draw of about 43 to 45 watts. So we're going to factor that in to find out what we're actually getting out of the battery itself. But let me go ahead and turn on the breaker. All right, now before we do anything, I do need to cut off all other power to the inverter. So no solar. I have the AC disconnected. So we have nothing going in. We have only outputs. All right, we are now getting power. Let's find out, kind of watch the watt draw kick up here. We're pulling just under, just a little over 1400 watts. Now this is going to be about the maximum current draw we're going to get out of the car when it's on a 120 volt connection. So the car is able to detect that, and so it kind of caps me so that I'm not tripping breakers when using a 120 volt. It's kind of a typical 15 amp circuit. So we're stuck right there at 1433. That's all we're going to get, but I am going to let this run all the way down, and we will see how many watt hours we actually get, and then factor in that 40, we'll call it 45 watt parasitic draw that the inverter uses, and that should give us a pretty good indicator of how much capacity we actually got out of this 100 amp hour battery. And then just for kicks, just to show you what we're pulling right now, you can see the battery itself is outputting 30 amps or 0.3 C, since we are capable of outputting 100 amps continuous. So we're not really pushing this thing from a load standpoint, but we are doing a 30 amp draw just for this capacity test. All right, you can see we are completely shut down. Looks like our discharge test is done. Let me go ahead and connect this to grid power. And let's see what we ended up with. 4,540 watt hours. So 4.5 kilowatt hours. That's out of that rated 5,120. And we do have to keep in mind that the inverter itself is going to use around 45 watts consistently. And we can see that this test ran for pretty much 3 hours exactly. So if that's true, if we multiply 45 watt parasitic draw from the inverter times 3 hours, that would be 135 watt hours. And we would add that to the watt hours we actually used here, or that we logged, of 4540. So that would give us a total watt hour of usable watt hours of 4,675. And that would give us a 91% of usable capacity. But it does seem pretty clear to me that I think we cut this off just a little bit early. And I think we would have gotten much closer to that 5,120 rated if this inverter hadn't shut us down. All right, since we are at a very low state of charge, pretty much depleted, let's go ahead and see if we can shut this thing down. I want to see if I can get inside this, and then we're going to see if we can find those low temp cutoff and high temp cutoff temperature leads, and we can test to see if the temperature protection actually works as designed. All right, took quite a bit of screws to get this case off, and then there was some protective covering on top that I had to remove very carefully so I can put it all back. But yeah, this is the inside, and you can see all 16 of these cells, each with their own little QR code. Now the temperature leads are clearly these guys here that are kind of siliconed in place. So this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I see at least visible 4 temperature probes. And so we're going to test a couple of these. But you can see the bus bars on here are actually welded on. They are not screwed on, so they are welded into place. Everything looks very clean and nicely assembled inside here. So they did a very nice job. So let me work on prying loose at least a couple of these temperature sensors, and then we're going to run a test on heat and cold and see if we can figure out whether or not this thing does high temp and low temp cutoff the way it should. And by the way, you also notice these off-gassing vents on the top for emergency. These are not covered. There's a cable being routed over top, but they are not being obstructed in any way. And the plastic covers that were on here were not obstructing those either. So all of that is a good sign. All right, if we dig into the menu system here, we go menu and then enter. You can see we have an option to check out temperature. So I'm going to move the cursor down to temperature, hit enter, and you can see we have 4 temperature probes, and these are listed in Celsius rather than Fahrenheit. And those temperature sensors, this would be temperature sensor 1, temperature sensor number 2, temperature sensor 3, and temperature sensor number 4 back here. And I've pried them up so that I can get access to them. And if we go back out here to the main menu, we can see that we have a charge current currently going of 14 amps. So 14 amps going into the battery, and I'm charging via AC. So what I want to do is subject one or more of these sensors to extreme cold and see if it will trip the charging, and we can verify that low temp cutoff behavior. All right, so to do that, I've kind of rigged up this little liquid nitrogen can to see if I can use this to trip. Since these little wire probes are wrapped up really neat, they don't have a lot of slack on them. So for me to get to them with my usual ice water treatment, and I don't want to dump ice water on live batteries. That would be a bad day. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to see if this works. Stick the probe in there and let's hit it with some liquid nitrogen. And it worked. I just heard it cut off, and you saw our current go to 0. So I'm going to let that warm back up and see if it resumes. And we are now discharging slightly to feed the inverter. Let's see if it will resume charging here momentarily. In fact, let me just use my hand. Whoops, actually it's climbing already. 3 amps, 9 amps. Looks like it's starting to spin back up. I can hear the fan on the inverter starting to kick up. So yeah, we're going back to our 14 amps of charging. Now I believe all of these temperature sensors are monitoring both for hot and cold cutoffs. So let me try one more here. I get the probe up in here. And it cut off. So that definitely does work for low temp. All right, now I'm going to very carefully direct some heat from a heat gun at one of these probes, and we're going to see if it does the same for high temp cutoff. It really should. All right, now we are outputting. I've turned the AC input for charging off, and now we are outputting. So positive 11 amps, that's coming from my heat gun here. You can see we got 49C on temperature probe 2. 52C. I think the cutoff is 60. There we go. Finally, we hit 61.9C. I was worried I was going to melt the tip of that thing, but it did trip. We'll see if it resumes output here. Go back into the menu. And we'll go, let's see what the BMS status shows. All right, over temperature protection, OTP is what we're logging. I think I just heard the inverter resume. Let's see if it kicks output back up again in a minute. All right, we are giving a little bit of charge current to the inverter. And we just heard the heat gun kick back on. So it has resumed, and we see that reflected in the outgoing current. So both high and low temp on this rack mount battery, definitely confirmed. All right, we are going to do a load test, see if we can pull a full 100 amps. And then we're going to run it, instead of 10 minutes, we're going to run it for 20 minutes. All right, we are currently pulling 87 amps. Let me go ahead. This screen is going to be a little bit annoying because it wants to shut off. Let me go ahead and increase the load. All right, that puts us at 104 amps. Let's go ahead and start the timer so we can get 104 amps continuous. All right, clearly running at just a little bit over that rated 100 amps of discharge is not a problem. So we did it for a full 20 minutes. Let me go ahead and stop it. You should see that amp value drop now. Yep, and now we're just pulling a couple of amps. So the load test of 100 amps continuous definitely confirmed, because we ran it between 103 and 105 amps for 20 full minutes. So good load test numbers. All right, just a quick note about that usable capacity number that we got. Now, I did reach out to SunGoldPower because I was curious. I thought maybe the BMS was reserving a little of extra capacity, and that turns out that is the case. They actually have a PC host app that you can use to connect directly to the battery to get in and edit those parameters if you want. And they said you could certainly go in there and lower that voltage cutoff threshold to for the BMS to get a deeper discharge if in fact that was something that you wanted to do. All right, let's talk about pricing on this battery real quick. So currently they have it priced at $1190, and if you get it in a pair bundle, which is more appropriate for something like this 8,000 watt inverter, then the price comes out to about $1180 per battery. And I think you can get it a fair amount less than that right now. And by the way, that pricing is Black Friday pricing currently going on. But if you join their Facebook group, this is kind of an interesting thing that they've got going on. If you join their Facebook group, and I'll again have a link for that below, that gives you access to some additional discount codes, which would knock up to, I think, about $200 off this and get it down to just below $1,000, which is actually a very good price for a battery that's got low temp cutoff. Now, they also make a self-heating version of this that's about, I think it's about $130 more. and it's on their website. It's basically the same specs. It's got low temp cutoff. It's got high temp cutoff, but it also has a self-heating function. So instead of just cutting off, it'll actually heat itself up to make sure that it can keep running in extremely cold weather. So like I said, that's about a $130 upgrade. So if that's something that you need or something that you're interested in for your particular region, they do offer that in a separate model. Now, one other thing, this does have UL certifications. It's got UL 1973 and it's got UL 9540A certifications, which is something that you don't often see in budget batteries like this. So I've had this thing for about, let's see, about 10 weeks now, maybe 10 or 12 weeks operating, and it's been running flawlessly. I've not had any issues with the battery at all. In fact, I had a major short in my solar connection, and I was having a problem with the inverter was showing a fault, and I thought, man, there's something wrong with this inverter. And I went back and forth with SunGoldPower, and they were like, you really need to check your PV connection. And finally, when I went out and checked the wiring, apparently I had a rodent or something get in there and start gnawing on my cables, which aren't permanently trenched yet, and caused a short. I don't know what happened to the rodent, but it probably didn't end well. So that was a 400 plus volt problem out there, and this thing handled it beautifully. So I'm very impressed. There were no issues. It just had a hardware and software protection fault errors that came up and kept everything from being damaged. So yeah, it's definitely working right, and I can definitely recommend this unit. So check it out. Links are down below. Hopefully you found something useful in the video. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up on it. Very much appreciate that. Do hope to see you in the next one. Until then, have fun out there.